Well, I guess one way we can test these switches out is by just jumping into a game, something that takes a little bit of rapid fire, and see how they perform. What's going on, guys? I am back, and I know I was kind of getting away from peripheral reviews lately, but I really feel like companies weren't really bringing us anything new. Well, I think that's finally changed today. I've got some keyboards here, some Bloody brand keyboards, and these ones have infrared optical switches. So instead of your typical Cherry MX or Kailh switches, these actually have infrared switches, which basically works like this. There's an infrared light that shines from one side to the other. When you're not pressing any keys, there's something blocking it, and when you press the key switch down, this piece moves out of the way, allowing the light to make it to the other side and then registering your key press. Now you may be asking what's so special about these types of switches. Well, kind of their claim to fame is that they have ultra fast response time. So typically with Cherry switches or Kailh switches, when you press down the key, there's a little bit of contact bounce. And in order to avoid like accidental or double key presses, there's a little bit of a delay that is activated to prevent that. Well, these key switches don't have contact bounce because of how they work. So in theory, they're supposed to be a lot faster in terms of response, so you can do more rapid key presses. Now, I will say, even though they're kind of, telling us that, that's not the only thing that matters when it comes to how fast your switches are. There's the actual actuation distance, and there's the total travel distance. That will also play a factor as well. So with that said, let's kind of take a look at the stats of these particular switches. So they actually come in a red or blue variant. The ones that we're looking at today here are the blue variant. It's got a 1.8 millimeter actuation distance, a 3 millimeter total travel distance, and as I already mentioned, a 2 millisecond response time. Also, these blue switches have a 55 gram actuation force. Now, if we take a look at the B830 specifically, this is more of an older release that I still kind of wanted to take a look at because it's 10 keyless. And I'm on the 10 keyless hype train right now. I know people have been on it, but that's pretty much all I want right now as far as a gaming keyboard, I guess you could say. So this one is 10 keyless. It does have a little bit of a gamer aesthetic, as you can tell from the actual the key switches and the actual case that it's in. Not my favorite, but it's not absolutely horrible, but it does have a plastic body, so just keep that in mind aside from the aluminum top plate there. It does feel solid still, but I think with the way that this looks, kind of like a total aluminum setup or something like that would have been really nice and fancy. But aside from that, it does have a non-removable cable. I'm not a fan of that. I always put stuff on my desk, of course, when I'm shooting things, so I need stuff to be out of the way. I don't know how big of a deal that is to you. It does have red backlighting here, so this one's not RGB, but you do get a little bit of lighting on the keys and then also on the side of the keyboard with a couple of effects there to mix it up a little bit. So all in all, a pretty simple keyboard aside from the key switches themselves. Now you do get some replacement keycaps. They give you a replacement QWER and an ASDF. Now, me being an ESDF gamer, I immediately went ahead and installed those only because those are the ones that matter. Now let's actually pull the keycaps off and take a look at the switches that are underneath here. Now you can see, again, these are the blue variant. They do have Cherry MX stems on them, so if you wanted to use aftermarket keycaps, you can do that. They also have a standard bottom row, so that shouldn't be an issue for you. And I will give you guys a typing test in just a minute, but I want to take a look at the other keyboard as well. They're both rocking the same switches, so they're going to sound the same, don't worry. But the other one that we have here as well is the B820R. So this is a full-size RGB keyboard. This is one of their newer releases here. So this one's a lot more simplistic in terms of the case design, which I like. It does still have the gamery aesthetic for the keycaps, which I guess that's kind of what you get today when you're dealing with gaming keyboards. We can't keep it 100% simple, although that is something that I would have preferred. This one has a non-removable cable as well, same as the other keyboard. Now, one thing I did notice with these keyboards is actually on both of them, there seem to be some hidden function buttons. If you hit the function button and hit one of the F keys across the top, you can change the volume or mute and things like that. And it doesn't say that on the actual keycaps themselves. I don't understand why you don't have keycaps that would have the actual functions of the keys on them. So that's something I would like to see them address. Also, the software on this keyboard is completely terrible. I installed it, I took one look at it, I was like, what the hell is this? I uninstalled it. I installed it again to see if I could do something on it, and then like change the backlighting and all that stuff, and I was like, this just looks terrible, I'm getting rid of it. So I uninstalled it again. Their software needs a complete revamp, so just keep that in mind. Aside from that, the B820R, I noticed, has some of the brightest LEDs I've ever seen on a keyboard before. If you like kind of pick the keyboard up and hold it to you, it looks like a damn concert. It's kind of ridiculous. They are super bright, which is nice. If you're into RGB and you want a specifically an RGB keyboard, these will be nice and bright for you. And again, these are rocking the same blue optical switches that were in the other keyboard. So let's have a little bit of a typing test, and then I will talk to you guys about how they feel. Well, I guess one way we can test these switches out is by just jumping into a game, something that takes a little bit of rapid fire, and see how they perform. So I'm playing some PUBG right now. Hopefully I don't die. Definitely not a pro player. But let's see how these work. We'll pick up some things, you know, just by pressing the button rather than the tab, and see how it goes. So right now, in terms of whether I can tell a difference in how fast they are, can't really tell if I'm being 100% honest. They feel about the same. I mean, the travel distance or the actuation distance is just a tiny bit shorter than normal normal Cherry switches, but they're definitely not the fastest out there. There are some that are a little bit faster than that, just speaking on actuation distance alone. So I don't really notice a difference so far in just rapid key presses, but they don't feel bad at all. I actually have no problems with how they feel. They do feel different than your typical Cherry or Kailh blue switches, though, I will tell you that. It's kind of hard to describe to me. It almost feels like they feel like a typical blue. They've got the click, they've got the bump, but it's like they're missing something. It's like missing something from the bottom, I guess, is the only way I could really describe it. Which I know is not super helpful, but it's just a different feeling switch, different than anything that I've ever felt before. All right, let's try a typing test. Not bad. So we got 92 words per minute with 3 mistyped words. So we had an adjusted speed of 89 words per minute. That's about my range, actually, maybe a tiny bit faster. Usually types, I would say usually about somewhere between 80-ish words per minute. So that's on the upside. All right, we're gonna try a spacebar test. In 10 seconds, I pressed the spacebar 84 times. Let's try to hook up a different keyboard and see if that works any better. Okay, so I just happen to have this keyboard lying around. It's got just your standard Kailh blue switches on it, so we're gonna try this one and see if there's a difference at all. That time I got 82. So we got our best 84 with the optical switches and 82 with the Kailh switches. But that's pretty much it, guys. That's all I wanted to show you today. I would like to see one of these maybe in 10 keyless, the B820R. Love to see a 10 keyless version of this. I like the simplicity. Would prefer some less gamery keycaps. Let me know what you guys think about these two keyboards here down in the comments below. Would you try out optical switches? Do they look interesting to you? Let me know. Otherwise, like the video if you like this type of content. Subscribe if you have not already. And until next time, I'm out of here, guys. See ya.